There's a special place in the hierarchy of education for HBCU institutions for educating its black students when at one time it was illegal to do so. If you've never been to or visited a black college, you've missed out. Nothing is the same on an HBCU campus, just like in black culture. And in the South, football is the king. The supporters, fans, alumni, family, and boosters come together in a special environment, oftentimes partying activities starting on Friday, and many times on Thursday night, and sometimes even on Wednesday. Foods are being marinated, cooked, and prepared. Good eats are everywhere, and everyone gets their drink. Hello, everybody. Back with HBCU Sports, special edition with Mickey Clayton, the coach, and my partner in crime that doesn't rhyme, Earl the Pearl Hankerson.
Yes, sir. How you doing, sir?
Doing well since we are pretty much in confinement around here with COVID-19 slowing everything down.
That's all right. You're still looking pretty stately right there.
Oh,
you
man.
got your beard going.
When you grow an old man beard, that's all you could do is be stately because you can't be spry no more. Appreciate that, Coach. You know, listening audience, you know, Coach Hankerson, former athletic director at Ricketts High School, one of the more prominent high schools here in the Southeast United States, not just in Tallahassee. But one of the things that we talk about that really has us going a little bit is this COVID-19, which the number 19 lets you know it started when? In 2019. It just didn't start. But it's just created havoc worldwide and everything. And I think people are just now beginning to realize just what a big part sports plays in their everyday life, Coach.
Absolutely. It's been pretty tough without it, hasn't it? Especially starting with March Madness, that cancellation really prior to that with the conference tournaments. It's been pretty tough.
It really has. I did a feature last year on my favorite week of the year. And that first week of March Madness, having participated in it as the winning men's basketball coach when we won the MEAC at Florida A&M University. But even before then, for basketball fans, it's, there you go, tell the truth.
That's right.
You know, for all of us basketball fans, you know, those are the games that you look for, because I always came home on Thursday and Friday because all the HBCUs always had the number one seed. So we had to come home and see our schools play when we could.
Yeah, definitely. Coach, it was something I was definitely, and I'm pretty sure thousands and millions of other people were looking forward to, especially considering the season that we had prior to the tournaments, with the anticipation, all of the upsets early on and so forth. And it seemed like every night, it didn't matter who was playing, you could be beat. You look back to Kentucky losing to the smaller school that they played. Oh goodness, it slipped my mind who Kentucky lost to early on with the former coach that played on their team. But it didn't matter. It didn't matter who was playing on any particular night. Anybody could seem to be beat. And so when you look forward to looking to the conference tournaments and to the field of 64,
as people sit here now and begin to realize, you know, that sports, this pause button on sports is going to be a lot longer to me than people anticipate. You know, you fussed with me a long time when I told you how serious it was going to be. But as an administrator, and we'll talk about it from the high school end, as an administrator at HBCU, right now, I mean, everybody's in trouble trying to figure it out. And I'm hearing people saying that a lot of the HBCUs that were having problems budgetarily, they'll be able to make their budgets this year because they didn't pay for travel and things like that. But the revenue has absolutely crippled the HBCUs, who are the institutions that probably can't afford to lose the revenue. For example, a lot of the schools receive their funding from the athletic fees from the students, and most of the institutions are now having to figure out how to give money back to the schools, back to the students who left. which is going to have a direct reflection on how much money they receive from the individual institutions. Then you got the NCAA that typically gives $600 million that they divide up to all the institutions. Now they're dividing $225 million, which is going to directly affect the income revenue that'll come to the HBCUs. And I just, what's your thought, Coach? It's just, you know, you have to look about the safety and the welfare of the kids, and it's not about the dollar sign, but it is when precariously, you know, a lot of us are in precarious situations.
Yeah, well, I think you just hit the nail on the head there. It's definitely not about the money that you're having an opportunity to gain. There's just no value to our life and our health and our strength. And so I think everybody understands that, which is why everything was postponed in the first place. They even, you know, when they're talking about players playing without fans and so forth, it's really difficult to do that because in this particular situation, you don't know if you're a carrier of the virus or not until you start showing symptoms. So even though all of that was definitely something to take into account, the health and safety and well-being of all of the student athletes and all of us in general was much more important than the lost revenue. And I think the NCAA definitely made the right move. It was sort of puzzling how some of the conferences decided to make some of those moves by participating in tournament play and then stopping at halftime and so on and so forth. But at the end of the day, they did make the right call and get things done the right way.
Okay, we agree on that. But what do you do now to try to offset the financial losses that you have? As an administrator, one of the things that you have to do is you have to try to plan for the unplannable. Now, not to say you could have planned for the COVID-19 and what happened, but now as you look going ahead in the next school year, trying to resolve where you are this year, what are some of the things as an administrator would you be thinking about?
Yeah, I'd definitely be trying to think about how to uh, use this time, as you stated earlier, about being able to meet budgetary concerns and requirements. But even now, trying to figure out how to turn those dollars into additional dollars. The best way I think that you would be able to try to raise your revenue is through social media. You have to, in my opinion, you have to embrace the opportunity that you have now with trying to gain more support as we come back stronger from this particular pandemic in the future. Continue to stay abreast with your clientele, with your audience. Continue to try to ensure that everybody's okay and that they're safe. But
Okay,
then also
Coach, doing that doesn't bring you any revenue.
no, it doesn't now. It doesn't right now, but it may in the future. I think you got to think about what's going to come after this is all over.
Our athletic departments, Coach, right now, at the end of the year, they got to balance these budgets. And it's difficult. When they had the seasons, it's difficult. And so now you're in a situation, and for us at HBCU, we don't have we can't call the booster club or the support groups to write us a check for $2 million and balance out the budget. And some of the major institutions, are how they do it, but we don't have the ability to do that on day-to-day function. I think it just puts us at an extreme disadvantage, which is not to say that there was nothing anybody could do to keep this from happening. Because right now our schools are in a battle of survival. So it's really kind of hard for the schools to even think how we're going to help the athletic department. When each now we're trying to figure out how we're going to take that money out of our coffers, send it to the students, and try to help them. And then we still have students that are on campus that, you know, don't have anywhere to go. So we're still trying to provide services as an institution, because in a way, we HBCUs sell ourselves on how we take care of our kids. This is an example of where we almost have to bite the bullet to do that.
Well, I think ultimately you answered that question. I was thinking more so toward the future with trying to make sure that you embrace the opportunity to reach to potentially reach more potential donors to your programs. But ultimately, I think you made the right call in that you have to now this is what you plan those buffers for and those coffers for positions like this. What else can you do?
And you're right. And see, the negative on it is even in a cry out to your alumni fighting for day-to-day things now because you got people now that are unemployed, that have been laid off for a couple of weeks. In some scenarios, they're going to pay them for a couple of weeks, but then they're going to stop paying them. So then bills are going to be due. And the constituent group that we have that supports our institution really don't have anything to reach inside their pocket to get because it's a matter for the individual families just to survive.
But I think that's going to be true for just about all schools, to be honest with you.
Mm-hmm.
I think at this point, you have to maintain your own household and take care of yourselves and your families first.
Mm-hmm.
Then everything else is going to come after that. So I don't think that's going to be something that's just specific to HBCUs. I think that's going to be specific for everybody.
I think it's going to be more dire for HBCUs.
Yes, sir.
And I remember one time when I was talking to Dr. Humphreys, and I was trying to tap into that genius brain of his, and I was asking him to explain to me, why it was so significant about us losing the College of Law, fighting for the pharmacy school, fighting for our engineering school. And I said, because the state doesn't want us to have a certain number of Blacks in those professions. And he said, Mickey, I'm really disappointed in you that you don't see further than that. He said, Florida A&M is an institution of teachers and farmers. He said, most of the time, the state lets you raise money from your alumni base. He said, just think about what teachers and farmers make and can give back as opposed to lawyers, doctors, and engineers. If they give 20% back of what they make opposed to the 20% that a teacher gives back, think about how much money that is exponentially for you to be able to grow your program. He said, that's what the fight is about. And so I never, in that conversation with him, it kind of enlightened me a lot in terms of what the real battle was that I was too young to understand and see what he was saying. So yes, everybody has that issue, but just for us, it's even harder for us because our alumni supporters we're not drawn from the same base. And at the end of the year, we've been struggling just on general principles. So it's been a scary thing because when this thing does finally resolve itself, it's not going to ever be the same, I don't think, Coach.
Yeah, I think it's a very interesting question that you raise. And I'd love to hear from some athletic directors at the collegiate level that possibly look at our broadcast here, and maybe they could weigh in as well. But yeah, it's going to be a new normal now. You stated that a while back. Things are going to be different now. And so we're definitely going to have to embrace those changes and challenges and move forward to a new day.
Well, one thing that we also learned, you went to Florida A&M like I did. We didn't have critical thinking classes at that time. Critical thinking was in every class you took. So it wasn't anything special. But one of the things that we do know is that out of adversity and adverse situations, heroes arise and opportunities arise. So from that, you have to be thinking ahead of worst case scenarios now, and what could we do to try to make it be successful? Because you're not going to be able to think within the box because the box has been shattered. Now the NCAA has given an extra year to the spring sports. And as a part of that, they've now raised the number of scholarships that you can have in those sports because of the returning kids that you have. And they've left it up to each individual institution to certify them. So they've given you additional scholarships, they've given you at least heads, not additional money. But what happens now when you look into the fall, and what happens if we don't have a football season? What do you do if you don't have a basketball season? What do you do not only to raise money, but to continue your programs? HBCUs, I think, and I'll probably get some even disagreement with you, I think we kind of had an advantage in that if we take our kids that can't play their first year and we put them in the weight room, put them in our programs, we monitor their progress, they end up getting a red shirt year. We're not going to lose anybody that's going to transfer out much or in basketball decide to go to the NBA. Those Power 5 schools, those kids they recruit like that, they're going to come out anyway.
Right.
They're going to go, so it levels it off just a little bit. Just think how many kids we have, how they would be if they had that extra year.
Yeah, I think just a little bit, but I tell you who.
How does that help or hurt HBCUs?
I don't think any of this helps anybody. That's for sure. But in the development stage, I think it helps. I think it helps the kids that are coming out right out of high school, Coach, because many of them they're already being redshirted anyway for that first year, unless you are just a one-of-a-kind player at that particular level. So in that regard, I would imagine that it'd have to help those kids be able to develop for another season.
Okay, and the reason I say help or hurt, because at this point, if they don't have it, we can't sit and say, oh man, we're gonna have a season, we're gonna have it. Okay, we're all hopeful that we have one. We all are. But if we don't, at this point, we can't let that surprise us and not have begun some steps to prepare for it. It's like saying you're not going to be quarantined. You're not going to be quarantined. That's just political. You don't worry about that. So you don't buy any food for your family. So you sitting there talking about, oh man, it's political and it's not real. Then they come on the news and say, hey, you can't go anywhere. You're on lockdown. Now you don't have food to feed your family.
Look,
you can take the necessary steps. Yeah.
It's too late for that type of discussion anyway.
But you're missing the point of what I'm saying. I'm saying that even in terms of athletics, you have to begin to prepare for that. If you were still the AD at Rickards, you couldn't sit there and say, okay, we got the football schedule plan for this upcoming year and the season plan, and go on without, at some point, begin to think, what if we don't have a season? What are we going to do? 2 months ago, you might have been able to say it. But now, would you not start to put something in place, at least mentally, in case you don't have a season next year?
Well, I think it's a little bit different in high school, Coach, because we take in high school, you're going to take your direction from the top down more so than a specific direction at your particular school.
Well, this topic, we will be able to discuss and talk about it some more. We miss sports, we miss having it to play with. I mean, and it changes your whole thinking. Saturday or Sunday, and you think about the finger foods to watch the game or the track meet or whatever, and now you don't have that to watch and getting a lot of sleep, getting a lot of naps. But you can still go to our INSiiGHTS page, our YouTube, INSiiGHTS. We still got 4 years worth of games up there. And from what I understand, people are still going back, picking some of their favorite games to watch. Some of them even have Rickards High School.
Yeah, we had some good ones. Coach, I'd love for our viewers to write in and comment on the page and get some of their viewpoints that we might be able to respond. That would be really great because it will give us an opportunity to kind of get away, take our mind off of some of the ills that are going on right now if you have an opportunity. So to all of our viewers, thank you for tuning in, and we hope to hear from you about some of these subjects.
Exactly right. I appreciate you throwing that out there, Earl the Pearl. And HBCUs are something we both are committed to. We're both graduates of. And during this time, it's so many things that are, life and death. And so sports has always given us a release, at least for those few minutes of entertainment to get away from whatever you're going through personally, to be able to kind of cheer, pull, or discuss, or argue and debate about whatever it is that you feel is important to you. So this is Mickey Clayton, the coach, and my partner in crime, Earl, the Pearl, Hankerson, right there. Anything you want to say in closing, Earl?
No, that's it. I just hope everybody stays safe and continue to be blessed.
And that from Earl of Pearl. And if you need a slab of ribs, hit him up. Next time.
Stay with the latest from INSiiGHTS. Visit our website at INSiiGHTS.com. 2 I's in the middle. INSiiGHTS.
INSiiGHTS is the copyright of Mac4 Enterprises, a Florida corporation. This broadcast is produced under the exclusive ownership of Mac4 Enterprises and is the intellectual property and trademark of Mac4 Enterprises. Comments of the host and other individual speakers on INSiiGHTS represent the independent thoughts and representation.